brought in God. They brought in God. Say for example, motion. The study of motion is at the heart of modern Western science. The study of motion is at the heart of Western science. So, motion was not studied much because why does one thing, one object move? When this question was asked, people were very easily they answered, the will of God. Why? Why do things move? Will of God. Dio volente, that is a Latin word. Dio volente. God's will is there. So, even today in your local languages also, Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, you have these things. तार इच्छा छड़ा एक पत्ताओ नोड़े ना, उसका इच्छा बिना एक पत्ता भी हिलता नहीं. This is a very standard statement. Every movement was willed by God. उसका इच्छा था. ये so why does the sun move? Why does the moon move around the earth? He has given the dictate. This is the understanding we have. Now, some people, a group of people, especially Galileo, Newton, Leibniz, these people, they started entering into motion. Why do things move? How do they move? Is there an order there? Is there some sort of a pattern? They understood this. Very clearly they understood. So they understood that if there is something to push, you can be the motive force. Motive force, that was the word they developed. Motive force. Force which allows for motion. So, were they not bringing in the name of God? Galileo alone made that mistake. But thereafter, nobody made that mistake. All these people who developed the science of study of motion, mechanics, dynamics, they had very clear ideas. They wanted to know how things move in detail, and every now and then they knew the politically correct language. Newton says, it's a very interesting thing. What Newton does is, while he was studying motion, when he came up with the laws of the 3 laws of motion, now he was helped, he took over from Galileo. Thereafter what he did is, he was able to extend it to the motion of planetary bodies. He came up with the inverse square law for gravitation. Now, questions came up at that time. The atmosphere, the intellectual atmosphere was very similar to the intellectual atmosphere you all have here. There's a lot of discussion that happens. कोई आदमी एक नया आइडिया दिया तो बाकी लोग इमीडिएटली उसको ऊपर पाउंस करके बोलेंगे ये कैसा हुआ, ये तो ऐसा होना नहीं था, ये क्या तू बोल रहा है, etc. So some of the people asked him, you see, there is an apple here, or there is a planet here, and there is the sun so far away. How does the sun know that this earth is here so that it can send its force attracting it? Instantaneously it has to happen, you understand? So this is something called the spooky action at a distance. It cannot happen. Information takes time to pass. To cross across, information takes time. So when this question was asked, in that famous book, what is the name of the book? Newton's book? Principia. In that book he mentions, that is the will of God. Because of that he was free. In other words, that meant this is an area which still requires a lot of study. I don't know. See, basically, end of the day, when you say, why does something happen? It is the will of God. It's another way of telling, I don't know. Because you don't know the will of God. Understand? If you're an honest man, you will say, I don't know. Let us find out. And if you have to be politically correct, you say, not in India. In India, you see, we have a tremendous amount of freedom. Whereas in Europe of those days, the church had a hold on the thinking of the people. You cannot think in certain ways. So why do things happen? Happens because of the will of God. Now, Newton said that. And he died before he was able to explore how exactly does this information cross. You understand? Anyway, so Newton really developed one beautiful dynamics of how things move. But it was mainly connected to solids. His study was mainly in solids. He just had a superficial study of the liquids. Then came another set of people. This is all how Western science grew. You understand? This is the history of the Western science. So they wanted to apply these laws which apply to solids onto liquids. Bernoulli came. Gauss was there. Then Hamilton was there. Lagrange was there. These are all. See, like we have a history of saints in religion, These are the saints equivalent in science. If they were not there, this institute should not be there. You understand? They were the founders. They came up with intuitions, amazing intuitions. So they said, whatever law is applicable to solids can be applied to liquids with a little correction. Now, when they started studying liquids, their focus shifted from motive force to energy. You understand? There is a word that these people coined, Visvaiva. That is called kinetic energy, or Visvaiva means life energy. That is the name. You understand? So there is some force, some energy that is moving around. Their entire focus has been to study this energy. Once you study that, what happens? You can put it to use. So there is a method for studying. That studying is not by using English, German, Latin. That there is a language that has been developed for studying this. That study is through the language called mathematics. Mathematics is a language. It was mainly developed for this reason, so that we could understand how things move. So the entire thing comes from that particular development. Why do things move? You can close this topic by telling it the will of God. But then if you are interested, you can enter deep into that, find out real reasons why things move. Say for example, see, as per Newton, what happens is, the motion between two points is in a straight line. That is because he considers only motive force. You take any river, you will never find a river moving in a straight line. You understand? So the path from your Himalayas up to our Calcutta, it ought to have been a straight line. But it takes so long, it takes a very, very devious path. So that is because Hamilton and others, they found out what water does when it moves is have the least transformations of energies. So the energy transformations must be kept least. That is why Hamiltonian is used there. You understand? It's a very interesting thing. So fundamentally what we are trying to understand is they are all trying to understand how energy operates. As a result of that study, so many fields have come out. You understand? So because the moment you know something, you can put it to use. See about radiation. Then next, after the liquids were studied, they entered into radiations. So again it was motion only. Thermodynamics. You understand? So how does energy move? How does energy propagate? This is the study. So the entire focus of science has been how energy moves. It's the study of energy. Every time they make some sort of an advancement in that study, understanding of one particular aspect, a beautiful field develops. And that is the advantage. The moment some development happens, you can give something to the people. So you have refrigeration. Refrigeration is unheard of. You don't have any scripture which talks of refrigeration. Neither Christian, nor Muslim, nor Hindu. It's a very unique thing. Everybody knew how to heat things up. Nobody knew how to cool it down. It's a very interesting thing. There is a very beautiful book called Einstein's Fridge, Einstein's Refrigerator. You can read it. It has come out. Beautiful history of refrigeration is there. Another book is there. Wonderful to read. So that you will have an idea what exactly is the step science took to reach where it is today. Today it is formidable. Today it is formidable. So you are not recording me, na?
Recording.
If you are not recording, I could have told you certain things which will not go public.
We will not make it public.
Don't make it public. So they say the Pope also took vaccination during COVID times. All religious people took vaccination during. See, why should a religious man take vaccination, man? Why can't he depend on God? Can't his God protect him at least from one small microbe? Muslims took out fatwas telling yes, all must take. Science is formidable and it has reached this stage purely by this kind of a focused study. Pure study of energy. If you want to categorize what science is, you will have to understand it as a focused study of energy. All these things that you see are the outcome of that. See, once you have understood something, you can put it to use. Otherwise, what the hell did you understand it for? See, this knowledge that we are speaking of is not the kind of knowledge that your children had when they had these general knowledge ideas. What is the capital of Azerbaijan? That knowledge won't help you in any way. Whereas this one, an insight into how things move, how things work. What science did was a very, very practical thing. Science did a very practical thing. Wait, just wait, she's still able to find it. That doesn't matter. It's the outcome of science only. So. It won't stop until it is given that information, you understand? Stop. So, science did a very interesting thing. All the people who were in this line, who have contributed, hundreds of them have contributed. All of them did a very interesting thing. First one, they stopped asking the why of anything. Why does it happen like this? That will not be questioned. Why you won't question it? Because you can't find out, and the moment you can't find out, in order to satisfy yourself, what is the answer you give? God's. Don't do that. They said we will do away with that. You understand? Because once you do that, your progress stops, and if you don't do that, there is something inside which says, search now. और थोड़ा जा तो अंदर देखते हैं, इससे पूछ के देख तो, उससे वहां पे जाके देख तो, like that. So now that is one thing. Second thing is, they were happy with one step at a time. They don't want to know everything. But when they put one foot, they are on sure ground. That is the second habit that they develop. Third, they will never speak of things they don't see and test. That's called speculation. Science will never speculate. Yeah, you are free to speculate. You can speculate a lot. But then, you better back it up with data. समझ में है कि नहीं? Otherwise, you can try it out. You will immediately lose your name. तेरा credibility चले जाता है. उस टाइप का आपने कुछ next time कुछ यदि बोल दिया ना, हवा में बात कर रहा है. You throw him out. He doesn't belong to our fraternity. These are all some very, very vital things that science developed. Why I am raising these issues is, see, these are the qualities that religion also has to develop. If it has to become credible again. Okay? Now, there are certain problems with science that we are facing. If only we didn't have these problems, my topic should only have been science, that's all. That should have explained everything to us. Because there are certain vital issues which science does not explain, that is why that second name is still hanging down. Oh, ठीक से नीचे ही रखा है. Whoever wrote it has made it subservient to science. Science is primary for us. Anyway, what is that question? That question is about, you see, when I said science is the study of energy, can all energies be not studied then? No. Not in the way we have developed it in the last 500 years. You know, there was a mathematician called Emmy Noether. Anybody here knows? Yes, that boy knows. Emmy Noether came up with two theorems. That those two theorems, they give the boundary, the limitation of mathematics. Can mathematics study every energy? No. There have to be certain characteristics for mathematics to study a physical phenomenon. You remember that. One of them is your symmetry. So asymmetric physical systems cannot be studied. So chaos mathematics, for example, mathematics of chaos. Mathematics of chaos is very interesting. It looks chaotic only on the surface, but deep down there has to be a pattern. If there is no pattern, you can't study it. Asymmetric systems cannot be studied. That is one boundary condition she puts. The second limitation that this lady puts is, she says, if conservation laws are not honored, you cannot study that thing. That's a very interesting thing. Now, using these two, there is a lot of development that your scientists did. But then, that is one of the problems. I'll give you the crux of this issue here. Life energy. हम जिंदा है कि हम मर गए? It's obvious enough for you. You don't have to test me. So there is a perception that there is something. Now that force within, an energy within me, what is the nature of that energy is the question. That has to be studied because that is also a form of energy. Why can't it be studied? Yeah, we can study it. We have studied it. We have come to certain conclusions based on our studies. The conclusions are erroneous. They are wrong. Why is it wrong? I'll tell you how it is. Say for example, a person is living. You want to study what life is. You find out he lives because he eats. You will never find a person who lives if he doesn't eat. Okay? So you can stop his food. You can put him on IV. He'll still continue for a long time. IV also you stop. IV माने intravenous liquid. यहाँ पे आता है ना, यहाँ पे दे देते. That contains everything. The essence of glucose, whatever is required for your human body, minimum मिल जाता है. लेकिन खाने का नहीं. Liquids का ऊपर लेकिन आदमी जिंदा रह जाता है. उसको भी बंद कर. ये experiment cannot be. It's only a thought experiment. You do it. What happens is 15-20 days down the line, they say 21 days, 22 days is the time when a man will survive without food and water. अंदर में थोड़ा सा चिंगारी रहेगा उसका. You can revive the man even after that within 21 days. उसके बाद नहीं. Thereafter what happens is he is dead. So once he dies, you can find out the difference. You can find out that this man is dead. समझ में आया? So now your conclusion is very clear because your conclusions have to proceed from the facts you have observed. Because food and water in some sort of combination with this human body which creates life. ठीक ना? Because if you stopped one of them, the other thing stopped. Consciousness or life energy is an outcome of matter. This is the conclusion that we have come to. That is why you cannot come to any other conclusion. Now the problem with this conclusion is somehow it is not satisfying for me. खाना ठीक है, आज दोपहर में रोटी खाएं, ठीक है, लेकिन रोटी हम हैं. Nah, it doesn't say. Second, see, you cannot study this one energy from outside. There is another problem here. Life cannot be studied from outside. The moment you study life from outside, somehow you have understood. What did you understand when I say ये आदमी मर गया? माने there is nobody inside who can see. Is that not the idea there? पहले एक आदमी था जो सुन रहा था. राजीव अभी पूरे कोर्ची तुम्हारे. There was one man who was seeing, who was responding to me. When I say that man died, that means that person who responded, he vanished. Now there is no point in asking where he vanished. Why? Because that was an illusion, man. That person who was seeing was an illusion. It was a combination of certain food, certain chemicals, which gave me some. You broke that combination, naturally the illusion went off. It's like neon light. Neon light बंद होने के बाद कहाँ जाते हैं का मतलब ही नहीं है. Because neon light आता है only if that particular condition is met. ठीक ना? It's very similar. Now the problem is, you imagine your death. Imagine your own death. See, I can imagine that I am dead. See, the body fell down. You understand? Body? You all saw that. Now when you ask, the question is very clear. Oh, ये खाना शायद बंद कर दिया था. हमें देख के तो खाना बंद का कोई समस्या नहीं. Some other reasons must be there. ये poison खा गया. But somehow that combination broke. So the outcome of that combination, which was life, consciousness, stopped. ठीक तो? Logic समझ में आ रहा है तो अभी तक. Now from my point of view, that is very difficult because even when I say that my body is fallen down, I am dead, I still am somewhere on the corner there. I am able to see my body fallen down. That is exactly how it happens. If you imagine your death, if you study death from outside, it's a open and shut case. You understand? But one's own death, you will find a very odd situation. ना, ये शरीर का बारे में नहीं बोल रहे हम. I am not there. It is impossible to think of this. So in India, we had so many religions. Limit नहीं है कितना religion था इधर. वर्ल्ड में आज का religion है हिंदुइज्म, क्रिश्चियनिटी, मुस्लिम, जुइज्म, बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म, सिखिज्म, ताओइज्म, ज़ोरास्ट्रियनिज्म, 10-15 टाइप. India literally had at least 1,000 religions. All of them still available. J.N. Farquhar, there is a historian, he has listed them out. He says there is at least one book, there is at least some holy men, there are at least some distinct religious practices. 1,000, 1,000 minimum over this 5,000-6,000 years. So, one of those religions was a very interesting thing that is called Vedanta. The name of the religion itself is Vedanta. It's wrong to confuse it with Hinduism. Entire Vedanta is not the entire of Hinduism, and entire of Hinduism is not the entire of Vedanta. There is no God in Vedanta, remember this. Upanishads started this religion. Thereafter, lot of developments happened. People were given freedom, they developed gods, they developed rituals, they developed lots of mythologies, all those things. Here you find pure scientific religion in Vedanta, that is in the Upanishads. They're very interesting. They don't ask where world came from, they don't ask where God exists, whether he is a male or a female, what is his pin code, none of those questions are asked. All they are bothered about is they start with, see, there is something within me which sees, I am able to see. Even if I am blind, inside my eyes, inside my mind, I am able to see things. समझ में आया? Who is that fellow? Who am I? That is a question that started from there. From there, developed a very beautiful. No, it's a very interesting thing that the method of study that those people followed, God knows how long, because we are very bad in maintaining history. Indians, we are not good at that. So अभी भी हम देखें, हम महाराज जानते हैं, I was in Belgaum. बेलगाम में गांव में जाके हम पूछे एक आदमी को, आपका जन्म कब हुआ? मैंने जन्म नहीं क्या? What is your date of birth? That fellow says, वो जो साइक्लोन आया था, वो साइक्लोन आया था 10 दिन बाद हम जन्म लिया. This is the kind of timelines we follow. We are a very peculiar country. We don't know when these rishis were there, but then they followed almost similarly the kinds of principles that I delineated for the development of science. Don't ask fundamental questions, because all you can do is speculate. All you can do is speculate. When you ask a fundamental question, तेरे पास data नहीं है, insufficient data है, and yet you have come to a conclusion. That is a speculation. We don't know, and I don't know whether you can chew what you have bitten. You cannot prove it. So they never asked fundamental questions, but they were bothered with facts. Am I alive or not is the question. Yes, I am alive. What exactly is this that I am? What do I mean by saying I am alive? So there is something called consciousness within me. They began from the other side, not from the modern Western science. They began from the other side. I am conscious. This consciousness, however, is not constant. अभी भी देखिए ना, अभी आप यहाँ पे बैठे हैं. So if you study your consciousness, it's a very interesting phenomenon you will see. I have been speaking for maybe 20 minutes now. ठीक ना? You cannot claim that 20 full minutes I was attentive to you. वो नहीं होगा. वो बीच में ना वो चले जाता है, पता नहीं कहाँ. वापस आ जाता है. It takes your mind, or your mind takes it away, your attention, and you've roamed about somewhere. Something was dragging your mind. It comes back. So this is at this stage. Then after around 10:30, 11, आप लोग क्या 10:30, 11 सोते हैं ना? 12 बजे, 1 बजे. Because हमारा भी तो बच्चे हैं. Children these age, this period, they don't sleep quickly. Anyway, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, सोएंगे तो आप. Study what happens at that time. Study what happens when you sleep. It's a very interesting phenomenon. You don't sleep directly. सोने के बाद, then you create a world of your own. You will never be able to pinpoint, this is the moment when I stopped thinking consciously, and this is the moment when I entered into a dream. You will never be able to pinpoint it. If you read that book, Feynman's Life, he did a study on this. He entered into sleep states and tried to find out. He could not make it out. You cannot make it out. But it is a distinct state of consciousness. Dreaming. And have you noticed one more thing? Whatever dream you dream, you will never start it from the beginning, Somehow you enter into it, it's already running, it makes perfect sense. It's very interesting. Right? Thereafter, people who don't dream, you should dream, you understand? You may not remember it. People who don't dream become psychiatric patients. Don't you know this? So there is something that the dream is fulfilling. Psychiatric people, psychopaths, they don't dream. Peculiar people. So, acha ho, kharab ho, whatever it is, but dream must happen. You should dream. Then, thereafter what happens? You don't continuously dream. After some time, dream also stops. Dream also stops. You literally become like a dead man. From outside if we see, नाम बुलाने से भी उठता नहीं हो, यहाँ पे ये करने से भी उठता नहीं, माने एकदम. Animals also do this, animals also enter into these kinds of a state. I have seen dogs, cats, when they go to sleep, then their eyes keep moving, closed eyes move inside, and they move their hands, legs. They do this. Thereafter they will sleep. They will sleep so soundly. उनको तो responsibility भी नहीं है जीवन में, समझा? अच्छे से नींद आ जाता है. They sleep very deeply. These people studied these three states deep. Thereafter, what happens after the deep sleep, where non-dreams, it's a non-dream state. You can't dream there. You don't dream there. Thereafter, again you start dreaming, and then you wake up. So, not necessarily. Now make a note of it. See, this boy has at least tried to find out something. He's trying to find out a pattern in this. That is what our rishis did. Please enter deep, further deeper. Keep a paper with you or a small, notebook. Likh ke rakhna. Yes, what he says he is right. There is some sort of a difference in the dream content of sleeping and dream content of just before waking. There is a difference. The reason is because the function that the dream fulfills in a human being is all the data that you have collected when you were awake. आज का lecture, आज का class, आज canteen में कुछ झमेला हुआ, whatever, so many experiences we have during a waking cycle. All of that is sorted when you go for sleep. Sorting happens. So that sorting happens in a very beautiful way. Very beautiful way. We still haven't understood it properly. What I say is from the Western science point of view. But Vedanta understands it very beautifully. And when you come awake, that is when all the things that you need to do during the day, there is a sorting out of that. So these are the two main themes that constitute the content of these two dreams, these two dream states. समझ में आती नहीं? There is a difference, but खराब नहीं होता है. खराब नहीं होता है because it is not continuously खराब. What I mean to say is, if your planning is poor, yes. You understand? So take for example memory. Computer science के students हैं इधर, electronics के students होंगे इधर, VLSI के students होंगे इधर, है ना? You study a lot of how memory is stored. And most of you have a feeling that this is how the human mind also stores memory. In fact, there are some standard books which mention this. This is exactly how it is. Neurons, connections, then solidified connections, volatile connections, RAMs, ROMs. Anyway, do you know what? Human memory is stored in a totally different way. It is stored as per emotional content. It is not stored as per information content. And very interesting. समझ में है ना? That is why the recall is also emotional based, emotion based. Certain smell will immediately bring back some memories. Smell. कहीं एक अगरबत्ती का smell, कुछ sound, it brings back a memory. Very interesting. How is this connected? You'll have to still understand. Anyway, so our rishis studied this very nicely. They studied this and they found out that our consciousness, so-called life energy that is there, it has three distinct states. One is Jagrit, another is Swapna, dreaming, the third one is real deep sleep, non-dream sleep. 3. Then they found out there are 2 more states. Death is another state of consciousness. See, because I am not able to associate with this body anymore, one side eye. But I don't extinguish. I can still see that my body has fallen down somewhere. Maybe some of you will rush and see, kya hua, heart attack hua, iska mota hua. Something like that, I will be able to watch from. That is how I imagine my death. Apart from this, there is no other way to imagine this. You understand? So death, they understood. There was a study that was made into death in this country. डरते हम लोग अभी ये टॉपिक से, मृत्यु के बारे में सोचना नहीं. माँ बाबा को बोल दीजिए आप, अरे मेरा लड़का का क्या हो गया, मृत्यु. But that is a bold study these people did. Death is a state of consciousness. One full Upanishad was based on this. Kathopanishad. There is one more state of consciousness. All the Upanishads speak of that. That is called Samadhi. It's a state of consciousness. All 5 are every human being, irrespective of his age, gender, caste, race, political affiliation, capable of doing this. We can experience all 5 of them. They made a study into this long ago in the Upanishads. Thereafter, this knowledge came down. It came down for some time. Thereafter, it was lost. People who knew this thing didn't want to give it away. समझ में है ना? सोशल स्ट्रक्चर्स इंडिया में ऐसा ऐसा डेवलप हो गया. आई नो दिस, हम ब्राह्मण है, तू क्या है, तू क्षत्रिय है, भागो. तू शूद्र है, तेरे को नहीं सुनना है. This kind of sort. Why it happened? When it happened, I won't enter into it. These things happened. So when Buddha was born, he ran all over the country trying to find a person who could show him the study of the human consciousness. Nobody was there to show him. He said, so what? I shall find it out myself. And that is why he became so great. History is unable to forget this man. He found out. And having found out, he understood this. If I give it to somebody, these rascals they will put it into this was monopoly. You understand? So he said, don't bother about consciousness. See, there is energy inside. Just study that. That is why you will find Buddha's statements are very, very interesting. You ask him, is there God? Did I ever talk about him? Oh, that means there is no God. Did I ever say that? Why? Then what are you saying then? All I am saying is there is pain in life. There are causes for pain. Other people are in pain. Find out something can be done. Study of energy. Because all these problems come because of wrong handling of energy. He gave this idea. Now, slowly, if you can associate purity with this study, you will one day trip into consciousness, pure consciousness, the samadhi state. You will do that. Buddhists did that. You understand? But then what happened is, again, I won't enter into those because some recordings are going on, I won't talk about those things. Some issues happened in this country. They said, this interpretation, this kind of study, we will not accept. This was never our tradition. They have to leave. Or they have to accept our studies, our methods of study, that is consciousness studies, which are of greater importance. Buddhists had to leave this country. Those who remained were again absorbed back into the mother religion. Where did the Buddhists go? Before they were wiped out from here, they had established themselves along the Silk route. There's a very important connection was there, Silk route. All trade happened, India, Europe, China, happened in the under. So they were all established there. Middle East was their headquarters actually. Buddhist headquarters was Middle East. So there, this study of pure energy, it developed there. It developed there and Christianity got it. You understand? Jewish religion was there, and when Christ was born, he and his followers, they were able to take this organization, founder of the discoverer of organization was Buddha. That is what became the Catholic Church status. They were able to take it. Established experiment they were able to take. So they went into Europe. Then Europe again what happened? There's a very wonderful flowering was happening. It was snubbed. Again same thing. What this so-called one particular caste did in India, the same thing the Catholics did there. You can't think. Thinking is my job. You understand? This is the kind of, who are you to think? Tera kya jata hai? Then, but this impulse that Buddha brought out did not stop. It entered into Muhammad and his followers. Most of us today associate Islam with Middle East. No. But do you know that the greatest flowering of Islam happened in Europe? Find out. There's a place called Cordoba there. Spain. So, Gibraltar, Alhambra. From there it went to Morocco, Libya. Great Islam awakening happened in Europe. There are two people of that period. One was called Ibn Sina. In English, in Latin, they call it as Avicenna. Avicenna. There's another fellow called Ibn Rushd. These two people brought back, you see, the advantage with Buddha was, he said the focus will be on energy, but the methods of study that the Upanishads had, he adopted. So that came down through this line to Averroes and Avicenna, and from them it again started this revolution 500 years ago. That is why most of your Western science contribution comes from Christians, but they were all nominal Christians. They accepted this rational thinking. You understand this? So the problem is, in the meantime in India what happened? The impact of the Buddhists, it hurt these people a lot. And somehow there is a nature, there is a tendency in this country, if somebody knows something, doesn't want to share it. And he wants to keep it in the coterie. Tu mera हाथ दबाएगा, पाँव दबाएगा, तब तेरे को हम देंगे. इस टाइप का यहाँ पे tendency है. Perhaps it is there everywhere, I don't know. Now, in this state, what happened is, we had lost that original Upanishadic impulse, where entire reality will be studied as it is, with absolutely no assumptions. Whatever comes to front as fact, we shall accept, and then we shall incorporate it in our philosophy. But don't philosophize or speculate. So don't make up something and then start seeing it. Now you see something and then start explaining it. This was the Upanishadic tendency. You will notice that is exactly the impulse behind modern science. That is why modern science is so powerful. You don't have to believe. You will see first, and then if you see something, then we account for it. Upanishads had that. It stopped after this Buddhistic revolution. Then what remained in India was the study of pure consciousness, that is called Advaita Vedanta today. Advaita Vedanta studies consciousness to the exclusion of energy. Remember this. To the exclusion of? Yes, all energy is Maya. You understand? So, once you do that, once you categorize it into that, then nothing will be of any use to you except renouncing that and establishing yourself in pure consciousness. That is the reason there is an appeal. This Vedantic religion has an appeal to thinking people, but you can't follow it. समझ में है ना? ये और वो एक साथ में तो चला नहीं पा रहे ना हम लोग. So, I'm toward the end of my lecture. Vivekananda's contribution is, he says, you cannot study energy alone to the exclusion of consciousness, as Western scientists do. You cannot do that, because you will end up with wrong conclusions. Some of them are right, they are very useful. Electricity is there, AC is there, all fine. But then only thus far, no further. There are huge areas. You cannot apply that method at all. You have to accept that there is some consciousness associated with energy. So pure energy studies without consciousness will be wrong. It will be wrong. In the long run, it will be wrong. Similarly, study of pure consciousness to the exclusion of energy is also wrong. It's also wrong. How many can? What is the use if it appeals to only 10 in a million? Is it of any value? So Swamiji says, reality is dual natured. Reality is dual nature. It is consciousness and at the same time it is energy. Sri Ramakrishna was his guru. Do you know that there is a book of conversations of Ramakrishna called Gospel of Ramakrishna? Has anybody studied it here? Seen the book? No, but yes, 1, 2 are there, 3 are there. These boys will be able to tell you. This man, so-called illiterate person, Ramakrishna, almost every page you will find him raising an argument. He says, Brahma Shakti Kintu Abhe. It's out of context he talks. In many places, if you read that book, याद आ रहा है इंग्लिश में बोलते हैं Brahman and his power are inseparable. That is the regularly he keeps making that comment. Why does he make that comment? You see, when he raised those issues, in India there never was a question. Are Brahman and Shakti different? Consciousness and energy, are they different? We were never bothered. We were happy with pure consciousness. Energy can go to hell. That is what we have been. So you are a poor man, you are so dirty. So what? I am holy. You understand? I have consciousness. I am behind that. But you have nothing to eat today night. It doesn't matter. This is the kind of attitude we develop. And you go over the other side, you see Vivekananda had the advantage of seeing both. He went there, he saw, what is it that you want? A little bit of back pain is there. Immediately you can build up something which will give support here and then you can stand for 20 hours. You understand? Because you have understood how things work, how this world moves. But beyond this, we are not bothered. These two have to be together. They have to be on the same line. It will be subservient as long as we have these kinds of stupid religious ideas. So apply, Swami Vivekananda very specifically says, in more than one place he says, all the fundamental framework principles of Western science have to be applied to religion, and religion must stand the test. Whatever is stupid will then go away, but something will remain. What is that? It is extremely valuable. He talks about you. You see, he gave a motto for this country. He said, this is the line along which India must grow. Very interesting statement. He says, what we want, please listen to these words, what we want in India is Western science coupled with Vedanta. Not one to the exclusion of the other. With Brahmacharya as the guiding motto. And Shraddha and faith in oneself. So Brahmacharya and Shraddha, some other time I will come and I will explain, because everything if I explain in one, you will not call me again. These two I have explained now. Understand? So thank you for patiently hearing. I'll just give you a synopsis of what I told you. Science and religion, they seem to be two completely incompatible subjects, fields of human interest. Science is something which is really useful to us. Useful, I use the word useful. I am not using the word it is true or it is correct. I am not bothered about it. It's useful. It makes life easy. Very easy. Especially those of you who have old people at home will understand the value of science. By 45, 50, all these old people should have been dead in this country. People are alive even at 80, 85, man. Science has developed and it is contributing like anything. समझ में आती है? अभी भी हम लोग यही बोलते हैं, डॉक्टर करने को वैद्यो नारायणो हरिहि, घंटा ये वैद्य यदि होता ना तो वापस नहीं आते थे आपका दादी माँ. This is a पक्का scientific doctor, allopathic doctor. So हार्ट का अंदर में जाके स्टेंट बैठा दिया. Unimaginable. This is the advantage of Western science. Therefore, something which is so useful, you cannot brush it away. Whether it satisfies you or not, whether it answers all the final questions or not, how can you throw it away? समझ में आती? So एक बार क्या हुआ? Yuri Gagarin, first time the man went to space. तो वो जब वापस आया ना, so there were two people who called him. वो बहुत चालू आदमी था, वो खेल रहा था. First one, the Pope called him. Secret closed door meeting, and he asked, "So you went there. So did you see someone old man?" तो खाली था. Then Pope says, I thought, but don't tell anyone. Chalo. Then when he came out, the Russian premier called him. He was the head of the Communist Party. He asked, अच्छा तू वहाँ पे जा गया था? Did you see anyone? हाँ ऐसे ऐसे. मुझे भी डाउट This is the kind of science you cannot wipe it out. At the same time, there is something about these final questions which is not satisfactorily answered by Western science. Because यहीं पे सब खत्म. That is what it says. खाना पीना बंद कर दो, हाँ, या कहीं एक 15 amps का पावर लाइन पकड़ लो, 440 वोल्ट का लाइन पकड़ लो, या कुछ उल्टा पुल्टा खा लो, हो गया काम खत्म, और कुछ नहीं. It doesn't satisfy us because we are unable to consider ourselves as extinguished. That is one imagination that is impossible for us. You cannot imagine. Unconsciousness, you may say I am unconscious. No. Unconsciousness is very very akin to the deep sleep state. जो हर दिन तू जाग है. So there's a 24-hour cycle where you are passing through a state that was studied in this country. Nothing else, and that study was called religion. That was a very scientific study. We observed it. We came to certain conclusions. And yes, on the one hand, you surreptitiously take benefit from religion, from science, and then you entertain certain religious beliefs. These two have to come together. So Vivekananda says, yes, you have to consider that reality is consciousness and energy together. It's the same. They are two sides of the same coin. The language that you will use to study energy is mathematics. The language that you will use to study pure consciousness is prayer. यहाँ mathematics apply नहीं होगा. समझ में है कि नहीं? So यहाँ AC यदि खराब हो गया, so there is a calculation that you do. How many people sit here? What is the tonnage? उतना compressor का power है कि नहीं? Calculation से निकल जाएगा. वहाँ prayer करने का जरूरत नहीं. हे प्रभु AC को ठीक कर दो. It is very simple. You understand? At the very similar line of thinking, the other side, what am I? What is it that moves me? There can be no equation which defines that. Whereas you can talk to yourself. Yes, I will be able to do this. Yes, I will not be able to do this. This much is enough. It is not a talk that you have to utter. Understand? So this is the idea I wanted to share. Thank you very, very much for having me here and patiently listening. Thank you very much.
If you have